Out stars,
Early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called.
the wild moments, and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game. And welcome to the last of our first dozen of episodes here on Minor League Weekly. We finished this dozen out just as we started it. Myself, Cory Sparks, joined by Jacob Smedley. Two-man show today, kind of to work out the math of finishing out our farm features, which is on tap. We've gone through, after today, officially all 30 farm systems as a cohesive unit. Super excited for that. I'm Cory here in Wisconsin. We have Jacob over in Pennsylvania. Jacob, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Over in the Northeast, just got a bunch of the snow dumped on PA, New Jersey, up in Massachusetts, Connecticut, all over the Northeast. So that's been fun. Over a foot of snow. Winter still very much alive as we're watching sunny Arizona and Florida baseball getting underway. But quite an Olympics as well coming to an end. Watching that, we'll I'll get into a little bit of it. Teasing that for a segment coming up, but that's been exciting to watch as well.
Yeah, it's nuts because I've had it before, right? I remember being an 8-year-old in 2009. We had a blizzard where I was in southeastern Wisconsin, still technically am, just a bit north of it. Opened up our garage door, and it went all the way up, and you never saw sunlight. Like, that is how bad it got then. Now, we didn't actually get 6 feet of snow, but, like, the drifts and the wind just pushed everything against our house. So I feel your pain. I felt your pain. It's been a bit. We've been milder here. Like, it was 60 last week, and now we're back down to 20s. But I do not envy the blizzards. I have experienced the blizzards. Hopefully you're able to dig your way out of the door there. Here's what today's show looks like for our headlines. Spring training standouts in much warmer states like Florida, like Arizona, for example. We'll be going over a handful of names who have really showed out through the first handful of games. Risers stock up as per usual. Fallers stock down as per usual. And rounding out our farm features, we go to the Lone Star State, the Texas Rangers farm system, and the Houston Astros farm system. The Rangers coming off some not great news last week. More on that to come is who we'll be giving you an overlook at. And then we round up today with sneaky NCAA teams, not allowed to pick these huge programs in group of 4 conferences, the LSUs, the Vanderbilts, the Coastals, what have you. But who's sneaking up and really showing out against some of those powerhouses who maybe we didn't expect to see in those spots at the beginning of the season? We'll begin with headlines here with what's been going on mainly in Florida, their giant complex where everyone's got their own spring training facility, with spring training standouts. And I can kick us off here with Carson DeMartini, Philadelphia Phillies prospect. The first 2 home runs of the Phillies spring training came from Kyle Schwarber. Of course it did. And this guy, Phillies number 13 overall prospect, first thing to stand out with DeMartini, the 45 stolen bags he had across a couple of levels of minor league ball in the 2025 season between High A Jersey Shore and Double-A Reading. But his power, along with his fielding tool, actually has the highest grade at 55 as of the conclusion of last season. He flexed that against the Pirates earlier this week, pulling a cutter down and away over the right field wall. If you can supplement a promising glove and an opportunistic base stealer with a little more thump in his bat, which we saw a bit of last year, look out. I think you have the full run of a really strong prospect making his way up to the upper levels of the minor leagues.
Yeah, I love this pick, Cory, and just kind of watching DeMartini the past few years in Philly spring training, getting opportunities really as that middle to late inning sub, impressing with the home runs, impressing with the extra base hits. Yeah, that the biggest thing and the biggest next step for him is that offensive consistency. Last season, just batted a little over 200, in Reading to end the season. So, I mean, he has the versatility that is huge for this Phillies Phillies team that, again, has flashbacks to what Scott Kingery was supposed to be with that versatility around the infield, outfield. So, yeah, hoping for that continued improvement for DeMartini, maybe to see AAA this season, at the high end. Maybe if a guy goes down, could be someone that they could call up. Guy that I'm going with, Coy. I'm staying with that same game. Of course, the infamous poop game, Pirates Phillies. They played yesterday. Of course, the graphic doesn't reflect that anymore. But I'm going to go on the other side with Esmeralyn Valdez. Took the AFL by storm this past fall. And of course, while Connor Griffin and Bubba Chandler have stolen headlines for this Pirates group, it's time to show some love for the number 16 prospect in the system. Mashed a grand slam to give the Pirates the lead and the eventual win in that game. He did go 0 for 2 against the Orioles, but I think this guy has the best power upside out of this Pirates prospect group with Griffin, with Tamar Johnson. I mean, you think of a guy like him, a guy, they signed a bunch of these guys, O'Hearn, Ozuna. I mean, it's been a while, really, since Pedro Alvarez, I can remember, that the Pirates had a big thumper in the middle of that lineup and ready to launch some cannons at PNC Park. So I'm really excited for him. And maybe at some point getting a call up as well. Of course, Connor Griffin, the main story there.
Yeah, Griffin got robbed a couple of times in his opener, right? He had a would-be infield single that ended up being a bang-bang play that he tried to leg out, but nice crossbody throw to get him. And then he socked the ball 390 plus to center, just short of the wall, warning track shot. So Connor Griffin was probably about a combined 6 to 8 feet away from going, like, I don't know, having a multi-hit performance and having a handful of RBI under his belt. Valdez and this Pirates offense in general are going to be really exciting. If you've been following this channel for a bit, you probably think that our World Series pick for next year is Athletics Pirates. It's not, but both of those teams are on their way up. They both have strong farms. And credit to Pittsburgh, the main criticism has been they haven't been investing in their bats as of late, and they've had a strong pitching staff. The Skeens' presence only accentuated that, and now all of a sudden, these thumpers in low A, high A, they're making their way to Altoona. They're making their way to Indianapolis. They're getting closer. Connor Griffin's getting closer, and it helps when you're going out and adding established thumpers, like you said, in Ozuna and others. So don't be shocked, man. Don't be shocked if they're competing atop the NL Central or at least atop that NL wildcard. And Valdez, Arizona Fall League hero himself, is going to be one of the reasons they do that if he gets called up.
Yeah, and one other standout, I know he was in full transparency. He was also in a riser as well. We'll get to that in just a second. But Munetaka Murakami, and I know, of course, it's interesting if you consider him a prospect, do you not consider him a prospect because of coming over from the MPB. I know Roki Sasaki was considered a prospect, number one, before he got promoted last year. But, I mean, I really fit into this mold. I mean, spring training, what we've seen limited so far, had 2 hits against the Cubs on a day that he nearly missed the game, ladies and gentlemen. He was stuck in traffic. If you haven't seen the story, go check it out. He was stuck in traffic, didn't arrive until like 15 minutes before the game, gets in there, lines a single, then also lines a ball over the head of fellow Japan native Seiya Suzuki in the outfield, who joked about it after the game. But I mean, this is a guy that, and speaking of teams, we've just gassed up, as the kids say here in the offseason, the Chicago White Sox. I mean, this is a guy that really another team that could really use power output from the middle of that lineup in Murakami, what he can provide behind Chase Mydroff, behind Colson Montgomery at the top of that lineup for a team that really got on base as the season went on. It's going to be paramount. So really excited to see what I've seen, not only from Murakami, but the entire White Sox so far in spring training.
Yeah, the NPB to MLB pipeline that we've seen for a while, but really the conversation striking up of is this person a prospect? They were technically playing pro ball over there. That's fascinating. Murakami put bat to ball on one of the first pitches he saw and throttled it right over Seiya Suzuki's head. Again, you brought up Seiya kind of making the joke of losing the baseball in the sun, and now he's not going to root for him. That guy's got a chance to be a huge reason that the White Sox lunged forward into a 75, 80 win team, and what I would consider a relatively wide open AL Central as well. If you can hit the ball hard and you can slug, that's going to translate pretty much anywhere. I think the biggest difference between NPB and other leagues outside of MLB, the pitch variety. You have guys everywhere throwing pretty hard, and occasionally they'll have a good secondary. A lot of the starters in Major League Baseball have 4, 5 really good pitches. So I'm curious to see what he does against that level of competition. Just the different stylistics, too, of what you'd see in an American Major League Baseball pitcher as opposed to NPB in general. But I think he's going to mash. I think he's going to be a huge reason that the White Sox lunge forward in general. And I love the anecdote there of him almost not getting to the ballpark in time to play in this game. Moises Ballesteros for the Cubs had a similar issue. There was some paperwork being worked out in terms of him being eligible to play in the States this year. And so he couldn't go to the stadium in time. And then all of a sudden he's warming up and everyone's going, Moises is here. All right, photo day. Get in there. Get your headshot. It's just those little semantics that kind of introduce themselves to the start of the season when you think these guys just pull up and get ready to play. No, there's a lot more that goes into it. For our risers, we'll go there next as Froggy Fresh is talking about some Houston Astros prospects. You came to the right episode because we're talking Astros in about 20, 30 minutes here. But first, our risers stock up. I'm going to go Rickwood Field and Major League and Minor League Baseball in general. Why? Rickwood Field is tabbed as the oldest professional ballpark in the United States. It's rich with history. There was a game there last year. This year, it'll be a Southern League showdown between the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, AA for Miami, and the Birmingham Barons, speaking of the White Sox, their AA affiliate. Pensacola is going to wear the Pensacola Seagulls jerseys, a feeder team that contributed to the Negro Southern League during segregation way back when. And this field has housed all-time greats like Willie Mays, Satchel Paige, and so many more. Chandler Simpson was in this game last year at Rookwood Field. They brought a whole Major League Baseball analyst crew out there to talk about some of the top prospects, but also just the tough times that these young men were going through when they were trying to make it big, and horrible concepts like segregation still existed there. But Rickwood Field, yet again, as the oldest professional ballpark in the United States, is getting used. It's going to gain another page in its history, and I think it's always awesome when you get to go and visit a place where so many different events have happened.
Yeah, that's remarkable, and seeing the events last year there with a lot of the players past and current African American players that were that were in those uniforms, that were greeting and meeting up with those players, just fantastic. That history that Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball is kind of leaning into. So definitely going to be tuning in to that one. And my riser is sticking right with the Olympic theme that I mentioned earlier. And the Olympics, watching both the men's and the women's ice hockey finales, the end of the Olympics in total, really has gotten me so much more excited for the World Baseball Classic. Everyone, it's 11 days away. Just that nationality pride, just seeing all the comments and all the videos after the hockey games, more in particular, but of course all of the sports as well. Just really the cherry on top of this kind of sports season and sports calendar right now. The nationality passion, the big home runs, the strikeout celebrations, the transporting to different venues, talking about Rickwood Field, these other incredible venues across the world that we get to see these athletes play on. I mean, this is what makes baseball the best and one of the most global sports, in the world, where, all of these different countries have their own identity of what baseball means, and it's exemplified in the World Baseball Classic. So I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, ready to watch the games.
I mean, what on earth did we get a couple of years ago with Ohtani and Trout, former teammates, going toe-to-toe? Japan beats the USA 3-2. That had so much juice to it that it inspired some players who could have gone there and kind of interrupted their spring training, their pomp and circumstance ahead of the season and building up their skill set. A lot of those players, like an Aaron Judge, chose to stay back and continue to develop Now those guys are up. They want to compete. That matchup had so much juice. The World Baseball Classic has a billion different reasons for why you should watch it. Jacob just mentioned a few of them with the different traditions and what baseball means to all these different communities. But just the juice of USA and Japan a couple of years ago. I would love to see a rematch, but in general, I know with all the different superstars we have on the baseball field, regardless of the matchups that you dial up, they're going to have some juice. So amen to that. Hockey was something else, man. The men's game, it was 7:10 a.m. when the puck dropped here in Wisconsin. And yeah, people were acting like it was like 2 a.m. with their drinking habits. So crazy stuff. Just made sure to celebrate Freebird and all. Yeah, absolutely. Froggy Fresh, we're going to answer your question here before we get to Fallers. Big fan of the Astros system, as I understand. Brought up Hagen Smith when we were bringing up the White Sox. Do we see him in 2026? I think so. The biggest thing with Hagen has been cutting down the walks and kind of relearning how to throw the baseball without running into some of those injury issues. Again, this is a cat who had 7 no-hitters his senior year of high school, was the SEC Pitcher of the Year as an Arkansas Razorback, had an ungodly K per 9, and now the last about year and a half, he's run into some injuries again. The walk issues have ticked up. I think the Sox are in a spot where they're not going to win 90, 95 games this year. They're willing to bring him up and experiment with him. I think that ETA is somewhere in 2026. It's probably after the April 15th to 17th deadline, whatever that ends up being for service time manipulation purposes. But I do think we see Hagen Smith, and I think we see Noah Schultz up there. The Sox love their lefties. They love their lefties who know how to throw high-octane sliders, and they have 2 of them. I'd be shocked if Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz aren't going back-to-back in that rotation at some point this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think the White Sox, especially with, how they develop pitchers, I don't think they get enough credit, especially when you look at guys like Sale, guys like Crochet, but even, other names that they have been able to kind of develop have gone elsewhere, but they've kind of played them through the minor leagues, through their development. I think Hagen Smith is going to be the same way. Guy immediately, same wavelength. Took 12 shows on the same wavelength here, Cory, with Noah Schultz there. That's who I was thinking of, too, as you mentioned it. So I think both of them, they're going to, start them out, kind of work, hey, these are the areas to refine and then get the promotion, both of them, at some point in 2026.
Yeah, I know Hagen's velo is going down a little bit. It used to be a mid-90s fastball. It's closer to 92 to 94, but I think that's part of that adjustment they're making of, we want you here for a long time and a good time. Not as the saying goes, a good time, not a long time. You want longevity with these pitchers and these first-round picks, and that's what they're training with him. I think we get our answer in 2026 in terms of how he's going to look in Major League Baseball. Froggy Fresh also bringing up Team Venezuela is not going to have Pablo Lopez. Yeah, neither are the Minnesota Twins, which really sucks. And, I think back to just injuries are horrible regardless of the time of year, but to get the news that he has a UCL tear in mid-February when spring training is dialing up. We're all getting romantic about baseball again. We're seeing teams suit up and play each other for the first time, and then your ace is out. That is anything but what you want to see for Team Venezuela as well. They were probably looking forward to utilizing his talents at the WBC, so great point there. On to Fallers. Jacob, we'll have you kick this one off. I don't know the whole story here, so you being the awesome storyteller you are, I am just going to let you cook here.
Yeah, so starting off, I think the video has been making some circulations here. So it was yesterday's game between the San Francisco Giants and the Chicago Cubs in spring training out in Arizona. And John Miller, again, one of the best out there for the San Francisco broadcast. Jeff Kent was on the color commentary call, middle innings, stuff's going on, telling a story, while runners are on and they're going through the inning, and the story comes up with Alex Rodriguez, who believe, and again, this is again, my just viewing the story, doing a little bit of background information. What was about Alex Rodriguez was sliding into it. I think injured Jeff Ken, who is going to be going into the Hall of Fame, nominated in the Hall of Fame. And there was a little bit of some explicit language, not too extreme, but still in reference to Alex Rodriguez as an individual. About it, and see Froggy Fresh mentioning it already. But for me, I mean, there's two big no-nos here. One, of course, the cursing. Two, also talking about another player, with a platform in the Hall of Fame or not. Some people watching the game is like, oh, it's Jeff Kent just making a joke. For me, come on, man. You're on air. There's the professional. Either talk about it in a different way, or just kind of leave it out. Maybe that's me just not knowing who Jeff Kent is, but yeah, follow for me. Come on, Jeff.
Yeah, I totally get that, right? Because there's like the background like you and I, where we've gone through broadcast journalism school and we're taught all the X's and O's. And then you do have former professional athletes who are way better at what they do than you and I will ever be in terms of, we're not going to go out there and be professional baseball players. That ship has unfortunately sailed, at least for me. If the dream's still alive for you, I don't want to speak on it. But then you put them behind a microphone, and sometimes the filter just doesn't develop in time, or they weren't told broadcast etiquette, or when they were watching games, it was for tape and it wasn't to figure out the nuances of that. So I get where you're coming from, where it can be a little jarring sometimes to hear someone take the mic and you just go, okay, you didn't major in this clearly, but you've been on the field, just not up in the press box behind the mic. So I hear you there, Jacob. Mine's going to be the ABS system, which I have been vouching for ever since they started experimenting with it in minor league baseball not too long ago. But specifically, my faller is the ABS system in the Cubs-Rangers showdown a couple of days ago before this recording. Cubs and Rangers are playing their spring training game out. It's the fourth inning, and Carson Kelly behind the plate ends up challenging a pitch that was called a ball. He believes it's a strike. They refer up to the ABS system. The screen glitches out, and the ABS icon is just flashing in the middle. It's like the DVD thing where you have the icon bouncing around, and we got no result. And all of a sudden, this murmur in the crowd starts to grow, and it turns into a groan, and it turns into what on earth is going on? Eventually, the conclusion here is we got no result from the ABS system. The umpire just chose to uphold the original pitch ruling off a ball, and play resumed. So I never fully considered, full transparency, maybe I'm the faller here, as someone who's advocated for the ABS system for a while. What would happen if it just didn't generate a response? Like if the pitch just never registered? My thought was always surrounding the idea of, no, the ball didn't end up there. That was clearly an inaccurate reading. Or that's not at all what the strike zone should look like for this guy. I know Sal Frelick has critiqued the idea that the strike zone's based off of you standing upright. Some guys like to crouch over to generate their power, and it doesn't shrink with them. The strike zone is now up to your shoulders because you're crouching down so much. I never considered this, that just like pitch tracks, sometimes the ball just doesn't register. So it shouldn't happen a ton, at least I hope it doesn't. But just a bit of a funny blunder to start the season. Again, the APS is in full effect. Umpires are calling balls and strikes, but it's operating off of a challenge system. You use them or lose them type of deal here. And I think this starts a larger conversation that I want to open up to you, Jacob. We've had what feels like an age-old debate over how do we fix these poor strike zones? Do we go man? Do we go woman? Do we go robot? Do we go a hybrid of it? We've gone the hybrid route. Is this the end? Did we solve it? And I'm asking this before I understand the regular season even starts. Or do you think we ever go full automated strike zone, especially considering the error we just saw in the Cubs-Rangers showdown where the robot did not know what the pitch did because it didn't register the pitch?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing too. And again, guess gets into a larger conversation of the, robots taking over everything conversation where it's like, is there a line to draw? Because I know there's been, of course, the growth of the game that has kind of evolved over time with the added technology, with the analytics that have really made its way in to teams that really talk about going all the way back to episode 1, what we talked about, kind of analytics and how teams are evaluating. So I don't know if it ever fully gets to like automated. It's just pitcher, catcher. Like I've seen they've done that before if they run out of umps or umps get, injured or whatever, where it's just a pitcher, catcher, the catcher calls it. There's like some automated like calling that gets it, and that's how it's communicated. I don't know. I don't know if it ever. I think that a balance the way it is, or finding some way to fine tune a balance where there is those umpires involved, but there is technology to help. I think that is kind of the perfect marriage where you're not eliminating the human aspect, but you're enhancing it to the point where we're kind of getting rid of the those Angel Hernandez level mistakes that are batters getting ejected, pitchers getting ejected. I think this is a way to enhance the human element, not strip it away fully. That's my thoughts on it.
Well, and great point there. I'm pretty much in agreement with you. Like, if Mike Trout challenges a call and we don't have the ABS system, as we haven't before this year, and he's animated about it and gets ejected in the second inning, from a fan's perspective, I went to this game to see Mike Trout, but because so-and-so behind the plate called a ball that was way off the plate, strike 3, I don't get to see Mike Trout for the next 7 innings now because he got ejected, right? Or insert player here. Or you've heard fans critique it in the past of, I feel like the umpire is making it about themselves. This can eliminate that because even if you vehemently disagree with the ball or strike call, all you have to do is this, and then that's the best way to disengage the situation, to de-escalate it. The robo-ump is not going to lie, unless it doesn't render a result, and then we're all just kind of like, oh. I don't think we ever fully go automated strike zone, because mainly I do think the human element helps in identifying the situation. And what I mean by this is 3-3 ball game, bottom of the 9th in the World Series. I hope everything is as accurate as can be. 17-1 and you have a position player on the mound just lobbing it in there, and we're in the 7th inning and there's programming coming up after this, and no one's really locked into the game anymore unless your favorite position player is the one throwing balls and strikes. Maybe the zone gets stretched
DK
a little
Hernandez.
bit. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Yeah.
the strike zone gets stretched a little bit, and you need the human eye to just go, okay, he's lobbing it in there at 45 miles an hour, but it was close enough. Let's get this thing on. Whereas if we really want to be ticky-tacky and challenge almost every pitch through the ABS system, if people want to play that way, you're going to stretch out long, drawn-out baseball games, which has not been the goal of Rob Manfred and of Major League Baseball in general. That's why they've implemented the pitch clock. That's why they've implemented the disengagements limits. And then they're trying to up the excitement with the larger bases and all those rules. So I don't think we ever fully get there. I do think there is a time and place for the human element to come in and say, this game's out of hand. I'm going to be a little more lenient with strikes. It's up to the hitter to try and keep this game alive, as opposed to I've got to call a tight zone, a consistent zone. And if I slip up, we do have something to hold me accountable on the back end. So I don't think we ever get there. If we did, there still needs to be a review system elsewhere, because if that ball or strike doesn't register, now what? We go to New York, and hopefully New York got a good enough look at it. So then we're just lengthening the process to begin with. So I think we're in the same area there. I don't think we ever fully go robot, so I don't think they'll entirely take over the sport, but I am a fan of the hybrid system in general, despite the comical error that we saw on like day 2 of spring training.
Yeah, for sure. I think too, just again, kind of wrapping up the conversation on this, you mentioned kind of the length. First thing I go to is one of the biggest complaints with the NBA right now is their review system with the automated review, and it just takes forever at the end of a game. It's a close game, sometimes you forget it, but it's like the final 30 seconds in a tie game, and they're sitting at the monitor for like 5 minutes, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's also an area that baseball has been recently all about time, speeding up the game for the viewer. So if they go too far, like you said, in that direction, that's when the time builds back up again because you're sitting in multiple replays for a while. So yeah, very interesting to see how they go with it. But speaking of going with it, as Cory has mentioned, it's farm feature time. Final farm feature. We've traveled all across, done, the East, the Central, the West, which we have wrapped up in. Our favorite teams, we've covered them, done deep breakdowns. Super sad to see it come to an end. Glad you all have enjoyed them as well. Honored to be on the final episode here, and I'll start us off in Texas. So we're going to go with the Rangers and the Astros, some rivals, starting off with the Texas Rangers and number 1, Sebastian Walcott, MLB's number 6 prospect in 2025, ranked number 7, pegged down 6 to 7 from 2025 to 2026 for the Rangers prospect. 6th best shortstop in the top 10. Sam mentioned it last week, just really bringing up the depth of this shortstop top prospect class. Just insane. Mentioned it with Cole Emerson. Now you've got Walcott here in the AL West. Again, addressing the elephant in the room, recently diagnosed with a UCL tear and will miss most of, if not all of, the 2026 season. He did go to the Arizona Fall League where he felt some discomfort, was removed from competition there. So, and then that's kind of where they shut him down, brought him back for spring training. The discomfort was still there, so it was diagnosed and he was shut down. Last season, spent the full season with AA Frisco, finished with a 255 average, 355 slugging, 386 OBP, 741 OPS, which was a career low to add. 13 home runs, 121 hits. Really like his bat to ball skills and swing path through the zone. Very compact, very powerful. Shame, of course, as mentioned, that he will be out for this season. I think there was potential that he could be in AAA. There's potential that he could be a late season call up for this Texas Rangers team. But I think there's also, especially when he comes back, that similar Travis Bazan approach we talked about a few weeks ago, where he's fine tuning things. Minor leagues is a tune up. And once he gets to the major leagues, that's when we'll see the average go up. That's when we'll see the OBP, OPS go back up for him. Shortstop all the way. Interested to see there is the power there if they want to maybe move him to third. Of course, Jake Berger's there right now. They have Josh Young that he really hasn't produced to the level. Corey Seager is still playing at a very high level. So not sure, with the position. For me, ETA is going to be late 2027, especially with this injury. You still want to get him some reps in AAA, I think, when he returns. So I think he is a call up in 2027. Number 2 on the list, right-handed pitcher, ETA of 2026, Jose Corniel, signed in 2019 by the Seattle Mariners as an international free agent, was traded in the Rafael Montero trade back in COVID 2020. Corniel at the time was a 17-year-old arm. Quite a story for Corniel. Cracked the top 10 prospects in the Rangers system in 2024, had Tommy John surgery at the start of 2024, effectively wiping out his entire season and into the beginning of 2025. So he had a breakout 2023 season, but again, wiped out due to injury. He came back last season, pitched in 13 games to a tune of a 1.89 ERA, 41 Ks to 9 walks, a 172 batting average against, and the Rangers, much like we talked about last week with their fellow AL West counterpart, they're like, we've seen enough. You're coming up to the bigs. Made his major league debut on the last day of the regular season against the Cleveland Guardians. over extra innings, the overtime, thinking about hockey here, extra innings, came in, 8-6 game, gives up a 3-run walk-off home run to Brian Rocchio in his MLB debut to end the regular season. Grades, fastball, slider, cutter, changeup, fastball, slider, both, and control up at a 55 grade. The stuff is there. Fastball, cutter, likes to work that cutter inside on the hands of right-handed hitters. It also participated in the Arizona Fall League, 17 strikeouts in 15 innings, but struggled with the long ball, struggled with the command. ETA, I think, is 2026. I think it would be smart for the Rangers, start him in AAA, get him more time. And they have really, I think bullpen is going to be where he thrives, especially with what they have in the rotation. For goodness sakes, Rangers, don't put him in there in the extra innings the next time he gets some major league run, please. I mean, come on, not a debut with those stakes on the line. Number 3 is going to be Winston Santos, right-handed pitcher, 2026 ETA as well. See some parallels between him and Corny. I'll get to that in just a second. Going from one international signing to the next, Santos was the Rangers' 2019 International Signings Prize out of the Dominican Republic. Like I said, maybe twins from another universe by these guys' stories. Santos, very similar, had a breakout season this time in 2024 compared to 2023 for Corniel, had a nearly an entire season wiped out due to injury, missed 2025, most of it for a stress fracture in his back. We'll get to a recent development for him recently. He pitched 6 games, a 6.75 ERA for both AA Frisco, AAA Round Rock. He did get a promotion at the end to AAA Round Rock, pitched 3 1/3, 2.5 ERA, 1 run, 4 Ks. Breakout numbers in 2024 between High A Hickory and Double A Frisco, went 11-6, 3.67 ERA, 138 Ks to 34 walks. Walks a main struggle coming with the promotion to Double A. Biggest sign of improvement, he did pitch in the Arizona Fall League this past year. 15 Ks and 14 1/3, but also allowed 9 runs in that time. 55 grade fastball, 60 grade changeup, 55 grade control. But a big note as well, just like Sebastian Walcott, Santos will be out of commission at least for the next 4 to 6 weeks due to a comebacker that hit him in live BP that led to a fractured left wrist on his non-throwing hand. So his progression will also be delayed. 2027 ETA for me, I think the injury history really holds him out. This season, he's going to be starting late. We'll see how he finishes. So don't rush it, especially he's really been played as a starter. So he might be another guy that the Rangers could look to move into a reliever mode. Don't rush it. I think that's, again, the theme for both of these guys, Corniel and Santos. Moving to number 4, going to go with A.J. Russell, right-handed pitcher, ETA 2028. He was the second-round draft pick for the Rangers in this past draft. Most notably, second-round pick, the first one, Gavin Feed, is in D.C. after the trade for Mackenzie Gore. So right now, Russell is the highest draft pick of this past draft, still with the Rangers organization. Excellent high rising fastball, 70 grade, that was on display this past season out of the University of Tennessee. Pitched in 12 games, 6 starts, 3.55 ERA, 36 Ks, 16 runs, 10 earned. 2023 season, he was elite as a freshman. 24 games pitched, a sub 1 ERA, 47 Ks, and a sub 100 batting average against. Just untouchable as a freshman hybrid starter reliever. I think that stuff, especially his fastball slider, is going to profile as a reliever. Sensing a theme with this Rangers system, the injuries, just brutal. Mentioned 2023 and 2025. He left to start his sophomore year in 2024 with shoulder soreness, and he underwent Tommy John surgery in June of 2025. So effectively ending his season season, and he started late this past season, coming back from the injury. So really interested to see where the Rangers go here. I like the fastball, 70 grade, sliders at 55. Maybe there's a Cody Allen type guy in there. I know some fans, especially Guardians fans, know how dominant Cody Allen was for a few seasons. So maybe they can get that out of him with that fastball and slider combination. 2028, 2029, I think he's got to refine his secondaries, get him more reps, has yet to play in rookie ball. Number 5 is David Davalillo, signed with the Rangers in 2022, 1 year after signing with the Mets in 2021, but the deal was voided. Might be my favorite out of the top 5. Zach Bigley, Tyler Danberg, and our guy Cedric got to see him on a daily basis in Double-A Frisco. I just love what this guy brings to the table. 55 grade fastball, 60 grade splitter, which is pretty unique out of a starting pitcher. 55 grade curveball. That splitter is nasty. I think it's the secondary pitches that really stand out for Davalillo, and it's his fastball that still has a little bit more work to be done. Had a 58% swing and miss rate on that splitter this past year, kind of that pitch in his arsenal that he is going to throw and hitters are not going to touch it. Last season finished with a 3.30 ERA back-to-back seasons with at least 20 starts. 2025, 2.44 ERA, 23 starts, 23 games played, 22 starts, started in Single-A High A Hickory, ended in Frisco. Those secondary pitches, are going to be key. It's really the fastball, 90 to 94. It's topped out at 98. So I think 2026, he could debut. He's another one where there's that rotation with the Grom, Evaldi, Gore, Rocker with Leiter. Is not a lot of space for him to crack. Maybe if there's an injury, he could be a promotion. But with the injuries, as mentioned in this system, he's a guy that we could be looking at next year and like, oh, wow, Davalillo is number 2 in the Rangers system because of how well he pitched this year, a potential promotion. Some of these other guys above him either underperforming or the injuries kind of catch up and drop them down. So, yeah, very interested to see. Diamond in the rough, very interesting pick, and the Rangers maybe proving you guys in a different direction of being a savvy organization that knows what they're doing with the moves, picking up some younger talent. I'm gonna go with Carter Balmer, number 27 in the Rangers system. ETA of 2026. He was claimed and traded to the Rangers. He was a 5th-round pick by the Orioles. I'll start there back in 2020. Made it as high as Double-A Chesapeake last season, but was not protected on the 40-man roster, making him eligible for the Rule 5 draft. He was selected number 5 in the Rule 5 draft by our friends, the Pittsburgh Pirates, but was traded on draft night for Yaiker Garcia and cash. So he ends up in Texas, and I love this move. And shout out a post from Thomas Nestico, TJ Sports. Love his stuff, love his breakdowns on X, Twitter. Go check him out. Kind of a breakdown of his inning that he pitched against the Cubs a few days ago. Over 95 on his fastball, 85 on his curveball, a 33.3 chase percentage on that fastball in his inning against your Cubbies, Cory. And the fastball and curveball are both graded at a 60, and in total across 3 levels last season, 2-0, 2.04 ERA, 28 appearances out of the pen, 46 Ks to just 18 walks and a 180 batting average against. Right now, the Rangers have him listed on their depth chart on the website. You can go check it. He is listed there among some of veterans in that group. So they brought in Alexis Diaz. Chris Martin is still there. Baumler is a guy that I think is ready to go for this Rangers team and could be an X factor in that pen of veterans. Strengths and weaknesses quickly here. Strengths, strikeout to walk rate is an overarching thing with control. 3 of the top 5 guys I just mentioned have at least a 55 control, especially with high strikeout numbers and low walk numbers. And I think that's something that the Rangers can work with, especially as these guys continue to rise into the bigs. You love starters that can throw strikes. And I think they learned their lesson with Kumar Rocker, with Jack Leiter, who both had a little bit of a slow start in throwing strikes. So I think they've made an organizational adjustment, and you're seeing these prospects coming up with great strikeout to walk ratios and throwing strikes. Weaknesses, you kind of maybe have sensed it by now. The injuries is one. I mean, each of the top 4 guys having some kind of ailment they're coming back from or working through right now that is holding them out of play. Just so difficult to sustain success. And for a Rangers team, when you have these guys at the top, of course, Walcott leading the way, kind of a guy that's ready to be promoted, but these other pitchers that are knocking on the doorstep that they could use in some capacity and are not having them available or rehabbing an injury, just so tough on the player, on the organization as a whole. Lastly, MLB ready hitters as well. We've talked about it before. This is an older Rangers group that's had some infection of young bats. Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford, who were 1 and 2 just a few years ago, but I think the majors are figuring them out. They haven't fully made the adjustment back at it, and that's when you could use another guy like a Sebastian Walcott, like another infielder kind of coming up or outfielder that can supplement and add another kind of youth, energizing youth to even help those guys with their adjustments as well.
So I have a question. Awesome job. Do you believe another trade could be brewing? I know they go out and get Mackenzie Gore, but I'm just looking at the overall profile of the Rangers. Best team ERA in 2025. A couple of transactions have happened, one of which being they're adding Mackenzie Gore to that rotation. And then I noticed as you went down the line 1 through 5 for their top prospects, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all very strong righties, albeit they have their respective injury issues. But do you think there could be a trade brewing, package deal, number 2 and number 4, and let's just say you go after a team that's bottom half in the league in earned run average. They're looking to get better at pitching. Do you go to St. Louis and pick up the phone and say, I know Jordan Walker really hasn't worked out early on. We're willing to take a flyer on him and shore up our bats. That's just one example. But do you think that's almost too much of a surplus to not do something with it?
Yeah, I think so. I think then you're also getting in the conversation of how many trades is too much just because of how much they gave away for Mackenzie Gore. Not only Fiend, but a handful of their top fielding guys or position players, if you will. And some of those pitchers have moved up as a I guess a byproduct of that. So but I definitely look into it, especially with how much their offense struggled last year. They brought in Brandon Nimmo. They subtracted Adolis Garcia in that outfield. Still have Jock Peterson, still have Jake Berger. Again, they really, I think, were expecting guys like Carter, like Langford to take that next step. So, yeah, for a guy like Corniel, like Santos, perhaps, if a team sees the upside there, I'd think about it if you can do like a 1-for-1, like you said, even a prospect 1-for-1 swap, a guy that, you can get in, if you swap a team, maybe a guy that's blocked that we've mentioned on a few of these other teams, like the Mariners, for example, can have that ready to go. You can swap a guy that's in their system on the older side. So, yeah, I think that's definitely on the table and something that they should explore.
And Froggy Fresh expanding on that, just saying their catching concerns me a lot. I don't know if you go and look for someone who doesn't have a whole lot left on their deal, maybe closer to the deadline. If they were to make this move, I don't think it's now. I think it's about halfway through the season. And if the only player in your top 5 prospects list to be a hitter is Sebastian Walcott, and you're looking for more offensive production, Young is on an arbitration voiding 1-year contract. So we don't know what his longevity looks like. What do you try and do to build out that catching position? Do you call up a Carson Kelly and say, hey, I think the Cubs are building towards Miguel Amaya. Moises Ballesteros could be a bit of a long jam situation there in terms of who's at the backstop spot. You have The Milwaukee Brewers, all of a sudden, bringing in a couple of different journeyman catchers. They brought Gary Sanchez back. They brought Reese McGuire in. Jefferson Cairo is a top 5 prospect, and that's all behind Contreras, who is on a 1-year deal with a mutual option at the end. I don't think they're done, but to your point, Jacob, I wouldn't go trade happy before the season even starts when you already swung for Mackenzie Gore. But if this team is of a buyer's mentality, or the offense and some of those guys that didn't take the next step just causes this team to be anemic at the plate, maybe you do make a move for that. And I also think you wait because you need Winston Santos to be healthy for him to hold trade value. Or you need some of these other guys who are in and out and not consistently on the mound to put up a handful of good starts or relief appearances, so that you can show another team, this is what our guy has, and he can go improve for you right now. Not, yeah, he's got a good arm, but he's on the IR for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So just something I thought about for a little bit there. I know Froggy Fresh is also saying kind of worried about how Danny Jansen will pan out. That's a very interesting one because he's kind of turning into one of those journeymen. It was a rental for the Brewers. Didn't end up being much. They're still trying to figure out the future of the catching position there because when his window is done and it's time to either extend him or let him fly, not to turn this into a Brewers episode, but he'll be worth a lot. So just some catching conversations maybe to be had with the Rangers there, but awesome job overall. And from one Lone Star State pipeline to another, I will round us out, Team 30 of 30, with the Houston Astros farm feature. And I'll begin with this. No top 100 prospects at the time of this recording. Very much building out their farm system back from the ground up. And we begin with number 1, Bryce Matthews, a second baseman. He's already made his Major League Baseball debut last year. This is the Astros' first-round pick from the 2023 MLB draft. Made it to the bigs, had his cup of coffee down the stretch last year. Unique stat line, he went 7 of 42 for a 167 batting average, but 4 of those 7 hits left the yard. So the pop is there. 55 grade power might even be gimping him a bit at a position that usually doesn't house a ton of thump at second base. You know, you have your Ketel Martes, you have your occasional one-offs, but usually that's a contact guy and someone that's fluid in the middle of the infield, much like your shortstop. We go back to a slightly larger sample size, say AAA ball with the Sugar Land Space Cowboys. He had 17 homers and 41 stolen bags in just 112 games. So could be a 20-20, 25-25. I don't want to say 30-30 guy because we haven't seen that in the minors yet, but that could be on the horizon for him. It's someone who flew all the way up to AAA within a year and then debuted about 2 years out from his draft selection. Intangibles are there. He's a relatively disciplined hitter. Biggest red flag is his 31% strikeout rate in 2024, but it's not because he was chasing. It's because he couldn't touch the stuff in the zone. His in-zone swing and miss rate was an issue. So it's not so much about what's between the ears. It's more about his fundamentals and finding a way to put bat to ball. Xavier Nyans, the shortstop, 2029, is the second person on this list. Number 2 overall prospect in the Astros system. Houston picked 21st in last year's draft. They picked this 6'4", 210-pound 19-year-old who packs a punch. We're going to see his pro debut this year, but he has a 65 power tool, jumping off the charts, a rocket arm to supplement that, and plenty of leverage from that 6'4", 210-pound frame in general. The bat speed is remarkable, but when he was on the summer showcase against other top prospect talents at the prep level throughout the country, when he went toe-to-toe with high-end pitching, he almost got a little too passive. Not like I'm trying to work on at bat, but just I got to wait until I see something I like, and next thing you know, 3 strikes, you're out. So he's got enough speed at his size to hold down the shortstop spot for the moment, but don't be shocked if the Stros decide to move him over to the hot corner after some time, especially for someone who can pick it like Nyans. I do want to say before I move on, Cam Smith could have been in this list. So when I say there's no one in the top 100 prospects list, I don't know if he would have been here at this point, but at least last year they would have had the presence of someone in the top 100. Cam Smith in the trade with the Cubs for Kyle Tucker and company skipped AAA. Like, did not play. Not even go there for a week and figure out your swing. Like, went straight from AA Knoxville, Tennessee, to the majors. So just something to keep in mind in here when you see it's a little hollow. Walker Janik is our number 3 guy, catcher, 2027. One of the most exciting prospects, I think, in baseball right now, albeit a little underrated, because of his meteoric rise as a pre-draft prospect. Went from hardly getting any college looks in general in high school to being the first catcher off the board after 3 years of eye-popping numbers at Sam Houston. He slashed 364, 476, 709 with 17 long balls, and he threw out 52% of runners last spring to win the Buster Posey Award. So if you tried to run on this guy, chances are you're not getting to where you want to go, right? Arm talent is off the charts. 65 grade arm tool. Framing and blocking are solid, but still on the up and up there. One of the biggest adjustments, actually, is at college, he wasn't calling the pitches. It was coming from the dugout. So now in Major League Baseball, you're calling pretty much everything. So it's one of those things that he is making the adjustment with and fine-tuning, if you will, in the minors. Looked strong on offense in high A Asheville last year with the Tourists. Janik throttled 12 homers, stole 30 bags from the catching position to the tune of a 263 batting average. Still classified as defense first, but he has raw power upside. He is projected to debut not this year, but next. Jacob, this is one of those telltale examples of a team deciding, instead of going for one of the top high school prospects in the country and getting them up to the majors by the ripe age of 20, we're going to go with someone whose floor is so high they almost couldn't possibly be a complete bust. As we see more and more of these different guys on the dartboard, plop in right out of high school or 3 to 4 years of college, both around the same parts of the draft board. Rock Chalowski's the projected number 1 overall pick. He's in year 3 of college. Where do you lie on valuing a high floor, someone in college, versus a high ceiling, best 18-year-old prospect in the country?
Yeah, I don't know, because I think it also comes down to the philosophy of the team. Like the Astros, their philosophy, as you just mentioned with Cam Smith, in a different degree. I know we really discussed this at length with the Angels last week about hey, we're just gonna draft a guy, and if he shows an inkling of stuff at any level, he is going to have the opportunity to get called up immediately. So I think that this is kind of a spin-off of that discussion. And the Astros are a team that like those kind of higher floor guys because they think they can take that higher floor and bring it to a higher ceiling. Those kind of underrated guys. Chas McCormick comes to mind. I know he's no longer on the team, but guys like that who kind of out of nowhere, they can find that skill and they will enhance that skill that player brings to the best of their ability, bring them up, and they are great at that skill. And they might not last a ton, but they will help in that department. So I think, though, for me, I think I'm more of a polished guy. I love that kind of upside, like that kind of 5-tool, 4-tool, sometimes, master of none, great at a few different things that needs the polishment. But I mean, so in a way, almost like bringing back that velocity versus control guy. Do you want the sure thing, or do you want the little wild card? And I think in this instance, I'm taking the wild card. But teams like the White Sox, teams like the Rays, teams like the Pirates are more willing to take that wild card than a team like the Dodgers, a team like the Astros. You can even say like the Phillies, the Mets. Those are guys that I think now you're starting to see. They'll take those if they have an opportunity to pick that chance. They'll find that balance. But you're seeing those teams with the higher floor guys because they have aspirations for a championship. And if they can pick a guy that is excellent at one skill that they have mastered, they think they can utilize that better than these other clubs.
I think part of the philosophical thing here too, right, is the Astros, they've got a couple rings in the last decade. Different teams like the Dodgers, like the Brewers, they're used to being in the postseason. So the saying, right, that the bigger you are, the harder you fall. Are you willing to take a huge risk and possibly swing and completely miss on a high schooler that you thought had good upside? If your goal is to stay at 90 wins, Or are you more likely to take a huge risk when you just went, I don't want to pick on the White Sox here, but 41 and 121? Okay, what does it really matter if we have someone who's going to glide up the minors a little faster, as opposed to someone who could be an absolute superstar before they turn 21? And it's all an arbitration argument too, right? Like, do we want to encapsulate their prime earlier or later? And do we believe that we can help grow this person into their prime if we get them right out of high school at 18 or 19 years old? Or are we good with knowing, like, for example, with Walker Janik, his 3 years at Sam Houston, look, that's not like a blue chip baseball program. They are respectable, but he's not going to struggle as much in rookie ball or low A or even high A, and he hasn't, because Sam Houston baseball is a lot more comparable to those lower echelons of the minors than the high school that Walker Janik went to, or the high school that Xavier Nayens went to, the high schooler they did pick out of, or 21st in this last draft at shortstop. So we see the Astros kind of mixing up philosophies a little bit, but with Janik, they essentially decided, we know this guy can't be a bust. We're continuing to compete for championships, and that's a big responsibility. If that's your catcher of the future, your backstop, who's calling every single pitch, now learning to do so, I think I like their low-risk play there too, and I'm a big fan of, if you're a team that is consistently contending, don't risk it as much. If you're trying to make that surge and flip it around in 1 year, maybe you go for guys who have a bit of a larger standard deviation. Number 4 on our list is Miguel Ullola. He is a right-handed pitcher, already making his major league debut after logging over 400 innings in minor league ball. Ullola has all the intangibles to be a dominant pitcher in this league. Older international signing in 2021. He led all of minor league baseball in opponents' batting average at 163 back in 2024, while also ranking 3rd in strikeouts with 171 over just 130 innings pitched. His fastball is a 70 grade. Plenty of arm side ride up the zone, kind of has that rising effect as it leaves the mound territory, and he's knocking on the door of the big leagues after a steady season in AAA Sugarland. I would not be shocked if he broke the roster this year. His main drawback, walking a hitter every inning and a half. So while Ullola is very tough to hit, he struggles with control. His lowest attribute at a 40 grade is just his ability to control his arsenal. So the potential is there. It's just about harnessing each and every one of those pitches. Number 5 is Joseph Sullivan, an outfielder, ETA 2027. He's rangy and quickly turning into a pretty promising story. He was a 7th round pick in the 2024 MLB draft, and now he's already cracked the top 5 in Houston's top prospects list this last year and has made it to as high as AA Corpus Christi. His walk numbers are notably close to his strikeouts, making him a tough at bat, even when he's not hitting the ball particularly hard or often. 60 run tool is backed by 42 stolen bases in his 2025 campaign. And for Sullivan, it's a lot of hard ground balls to the right side of the infield. So the big thing for him is, if you're going to pull the ball, selecting the strikes that you'll be able to get a decent long launch angle on, and not ones that you're going to roll over on. So very nitpicky stuff there. Diamond in the rough is Jose Fleury, number 14 overall prospect in Houston's system. He started his pro ball career by logging a 60-4 strikeout to walk ratio in the rookie level Dominican Summer League in 2022 amongst his peers. 60 grade changeup grades the highest of any pitch. And this is someone with over 290 innings of work now in the minors, 354 strikeouts to just 113 walks. Battled through a thigh injury a couple of years ago, but he's proven to be hard to hit with a career opponent batting average of 206, and then quickly strengths and weaknesses. Strengths, fair balance of power and speed in and beyond that top 5. A nice pitcher mix in with Ullola being just about ready to hit the show. And overall, I think the pipeline has a little bit of everything when it comes to strong skill sets. The weakness is what we started this segment with, and except they don't have any top-end names. Bryce Matthews is their top-end name, and he is not in MILB's top 100. So I think it makes life tough when a front office is trying to swing for a win-now move in the trade market if their top prospect talent isn't even rated amongst the top 100 in the league. Now, we have seen teams do this still and still pull this off with a less than optimal farm system. Example, the Rangers, who you just talked about, did it for Mackenzie Gore. But where you are grabbing 4 or 5 names in a certain instance. If you had a stronger farm system, you may only be using 2 or 3 prospects. I guess as we wrap this up, Jacob, we're looking at 2 teams that are kind of rebuilding in their pipeline in general. For the Astros, do you think they go and just ride out as many winning seasons as they can without really committing to getting farm talents in, and also hope that their development staff just brings in some of these guys and elevates them to a top 100 level? Or do you think if they hit a certain point this year where they're a handful of games under 500 at the trade deadline, it's time to go build the farm and accept that we're in a rebuilding period?
Yeah, I think it's going to go with the former. I think they're going to ride it out just based on the talent that they still have with Yordan Alvarez, with Jeremy Pena, with Christian Walker, what he brings. Also on the pitching side, signing Tatsui Amai, Hunter Brown, his ascension. So, I think there are pieces there that they'll be in the hunt in this division that much like the NL Central and NL East, there's AL East, there's a lot of these teams that can make a move. So but yeah, you have a few of these teams in this division in particular, them and the Rangers, who at that same kind of crux where it's like, and it's so funny, they were both in the ALCS facing off against each other just 2 years ago, just a few years ago now, and it's like they're almost in the exact same spot 2 years later, where they're both, aging teams. There's some, strong talent still there, but the Mariners are here. The Athletics are here. The Angels are the Angels, but the Mariners and the A's, the Mariners are already here. The A's are going to be coming. So reality might hit both of these teams. Which one it's going to hit first, I think, is going to be the question. So, but yeah, I think the Astros, you gotta ride it out. And yeah, I think Froggy Fresh bringing up Isaac Paredes. I think he's the first guy to bring up when you're talking about moving. Here's a guy you can move, still remain in that competitive sphere, and get a prospect back. Maybe you could get a fringe top 100 or a few guys, like you said, to supplement this farm system. So yeah, but I think they're gonna ride it out for now.
Yeah, I think so too, and I appreciate you, Froggy Fresh, jumping in here and bringing up that question. Paredes has been thrown around a lot. The Brewers just traded their entire third base depth chart, so they're a team where all of a sudden maybe you noticed, right? The Astros, I didn't mention a whole lot of pitchers down the stretch here, at least in the top 5. Do they go after someone like a Logan Henderson, or you probably won't get Brandon Sproat, but someone else up in their system, a Craig Yoho, and then say, hey, you can have Paredes. Keep in mind, Cam Smith was playing right field this last year. He was a college third baseman. So there's that immediate replacement that you could have if you want to offload Paredes and do some bidding with one of the best farm systems, if not the best farm system in the league right now. I think a deal between the Astros and the Brewers easily helps out both sides. If the Brewers are looking for that immediate answer at third after dealing out Caleb Durbin and Andrew Monasterio and Anthony Siegler, and the Astros are saying, man, we need prospect upside so badly right now. And the Brewers, frankly, just have, if there is such a thing, too much of it. Would they be willing to offload it when that is something that Matt Arnold really values? I'm not sure. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for our farm features. How about that? That's the first run through of it. Pretty bittersweet. I was telling Jacob, like before we started the episode today, it's cool because now we're going to be able to open up different avenues and fill that block with something else. But it's also sad because this segment has existed as long as the podcast has, for 3 months now, which is actually crazy to say out loud.
Yeah, our own version of 30 teams in 30 days. Take that, MLB Network. We did it first. We started this in December. Yeah, just an incredible journey going across the divisions, kind of deeper, taking a deeper dive, unpeeling the layers of these prospects. Not only for us, I've learned just so much from these farm features, from you guys, from these teams. So yeah, this is great, and excited to see where all of these guys end up, these systems end up by mid-season. end of the season.
Yeah, these will be fun to check back on. And if you're tuning in right now and hearing about this series for the first time, don't worry. These are not gone to the ether. Every single one of our farm system features is going to be archived on our YouTube channel. We're about 24, 25 in terms of having them reposted as individual videos. So if you're a Rangers fan this next week, right, you could go back and look at those. Or if you are a Phillies fan or a Cubs fan or a Padres fan, like, we've covered all of these teams, and by about the next week and a half to 2 weeks, all of them will be archived as videos. Now, take some of them with a grain of salt. If you go through Sam's Brewers farm system feature that he put out right before a trade, unfortunately, some names have moved, or the Mets have moved around quite a bit. But for the most part, these are holding up relatively well through the start of the season. There's just a couple of exceptions, but we're still breaking down prospects where they are now, maybe up in the air, but the skills, the intangibles, and the content, I think is something we're still pretty proud of. As we go on to our final segment and a recent development on this channel, as at the beginning of February, we announced we'll be covering college baseball, it's time to go over some sneaky college teams. We're a couple of weeks into non-conference play. You're tuning in on insert streaming software here, watching some of the best teams and going, oh, they're probably just going to mercy rule this mid-major school or this lower-level D1. Not so fast in a couple of cases. I'm a firm advocate that the parity in college baseball, I'll put it up there with just about any sport. And that's tough to say in a day and age where NIL exists and teams are just able to buy their way up into contention and you learn where budgets are really quick. But look no further than Kent State. The Golden Flashes baseball program has to be on cloud 9 right now. They didn't just steal a game from the 13th ranked Tennessee Volunteers this last week. They took the series. They fell in game 1 4-3, then enjoyed victories by scores of 2-1 and 9-5 in convincing fashion in the rubber match. First time beating a top 25 opponent in a game since taking down number 25 UConn, the Huskies, 5-4 back in 2022. Great pitching across the board, but I want to give a shout out to my man Peyton Williams, who went 5 up, 5 down to serve as the exclamation point of that first victory against a ranked opponent in almost 4 calendar years. Sawyer Salataria, the MAC Freshman of the Year last season, to this point is hitting .517, and he went 7 of 15 in 4 games against LSU and Tennessee. The kid's probably getting drafted after this series, getting way too valuable for it not to happen. The Golden Flashes, by the way, are 5-2. Who have they lost to? A 10-7 defeat against the defending champion LSU Tigers. They stuck right with them. And that slim 4-3 fall to Tennessee before beating the Volunteers in the next 2 games. If I'm a team in the MAC, I want nothing to do with Sawyer Salataria, and I want nothing to do with Kent State in 2026.
That's incredible. Love me some action.
Yes,
and,
sir.
And glad to see again. You're talking about, we talked about last week about these games where you're when Sam went off on Wagner about what their program has gone through. Kent State in a similar, and they're taking it. They're taking these matchups bull by the horn style, taking these gargantuan programs, taking them down, winning series, and the losses are slim margins, making these teams work for it in these beginning series. So yeah, love to see it. 517 average. Of course, some at the beginning, season, you have the first few weeks, some of that's a little inflated, but still against that level of competition, that is incredible for that. My name is going to be out of the American Athletic Conference. I'm going to go with the ECU Pirates. They are the favorite to win the conference. I will add that in, but they have had a test early. This squad has really shown themselves this season. They split a series with ranked UNC. We talked about last week in that series against Indiana. Game 3 was not finished due to inclement weather, but it was tied 3-3. So there was a chance for these Pirates to take that series. Guys to watch on this team: Ethan Norby was the American Athletic Conference pitcher preseason pitcher of the year. Left-handed arm last 2 seasons, sub 3.35 ERA, excellent as a starter, a little over 7 ERA to start, so he's still getting his bearings to start the season. But Sean Jenkins out of the pen, 10 and a third scoreless so far. Last year had over a 5 ERA, so has taken a step as a sophomore in that pen for the Pirates. He was also ranked number 4 in 2025's top 5 incoming freshman list, according to Baseball America. So some star-studded pitchers. They got 3 guys who were also listed on the all-conference preseason list. So this is a team to keep an eye on when we're talking about during conference play and over the next few weeks. They have some great series and games coming up. They have a series with number 6 Coastal Carolina. They also just they play Penn as well, Duke, and this is a team that beat ranked Florida in the Super Regionals last year, lost to Coastal. So just like Fairfield, your squad talked about, Cory, a few weeks ago, this is a team that's looking to get their lick back, if you will, against Coastal Carolina in this series upcoming. But a team that really, I guess, is the team to beat in the American Athletic Conference, winning the last 4 conference championships. So a juggernaut that should be feared in the AAC.
I love the callback to the Fairfield matchup. And looking at Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers, there's one of 2 ways to look at how they're doing right now. They're 5-2 with a 4-3 loss against the College of Charleston just a week ago. And then they lost 14-5 against the Fighting Illini. Illinois is one of the better programs in the Big Ten the last few years. Either Coastal Carolina is feeling a little sluggish coming out of the gate, maybe a little hangover from last year, making it all the way to the end before falling to LSU, or they are going to be playing, and I think this is the more likely of the 2, very angry. So ECU is going to have to bring their Sunday best, as is Coastal. I'm really looking forward to that matchup. I wanted to give this spotlight to UW-Milwaukee because they gave LSU a run for their money, not once but twice in a 3-game series last year. They did just steal a game from Duke, but and this kind of goes back to me bringing up the reliever for Kent State and Peyton Williams going 5 up, 5 down. Jacob, a lot of these mid-major teams or lower-level D1 programs that don't have a ton of funding that go up and challenge the LSUs and the Vandy's and the Coastals of the world, they hang with them for 5 or 6 innings. And then when the bullpen comes out, it's our reliever throws 97, your reliever, our being like the LSUs of the world, your reliever throws 91, 92. And it's just something these hitters are not accustomed to on one end, while the hitters on the LSU Vandy side of things, they're willing to slam the door. So that's where these get real interesting when you see a Kent State taking a series or ECU being 1 run away from taking a series against UNC is, oh, you're not only competing with these teams the first 1 to 2 times through the lineup, you're going toe-to-toe with them, wire to wire, and your closers, most of these teams, veteran closers, have the gas to keep up with that Mercedes or that Ferrari over in a powerhouse of a baseball program like the ones we mentioned. So we're going to keep an eye out for, I know Vandy had a combined no-hitter. They're 5th in the last handful of years last week. We're going to be keeping an eye out for some of these mid-major schools and just teams in general that are punching upward. And ECU is definitely one of those to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. And just to kind of wrap up there, just the depth too. I mean, some of these guys on these mid-major programs are pitching on 1-day rest. They started the last day. They're coming in relief, where these larger programs have that depth where they can pull a freshman that's ready to go, like you said, that throws 95, that hasn't pitched in a week, right off the pine, and he is 3 up, 3 down. So yeah, that's another thing where the depth and then the workload for these guys on these smaller programs is not the same compared to a Duke, Tennessee. It's much more charted, much more laid out, and you have all of these pitchers kind of sitting in that bullpen.
One last thing, ECU, the Pirates, just the design, top 5 logo in college baseball. Yay, nay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
love it, man.
I'm with it. Love the Pirates. Yeah, love the Pirates.
I have vivid memories of playing NCAA 14, I think on an Xbox 360, and going with the ECU Pirates in like mini games against my friend. It'd be like ECU against Oregon, and it was disgusting in the best way. So fun. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the Pirates for that reason and others. But yeah, awesome stuff. Good stuff. Well, look, man, this has been a blast, and going through the farm features now makes me realize we're going to be filling that in with something else coming up here. So that will be a fun discovery of just different ways to get the creative juices flowing and entertain and inform all of you. If you have any suggestions, go on any of our social platforms, Minor League Minute across YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter/X, and we are more than happy to introduce those there as well. But really, really excited to get going with something new coming up here. I do want to make a quick announcement because the next time that we jump on an episode, we will officially be partnered with JustBats.com, which is a brand that Jacob and I have been talking to and forming a pretty good relationship with the last month or so. They have amazing products, and we're really excited to introduce some of these perks to all of you starting next week. So effective March 1st, just keep an eye out on our social media pages there. If you have a niece or a nephew or anybody in the family, even if you're in a beer league softball league, like there is a little bit of something for everybody. So that's the soft teaser. More on JustBats.com to come in the next week. Those are your sneaky NCAA teams, and that is your first dozen of episodes here on Minor League Weekly. We will catch you next Monday.
Somewhere, and in baseball, that somewhere. Every story starts somewhere, and in baseball, that somewhere is the minors. The breakout stars,
Early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called.
the wild moments, and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game.